Welcome to the ADHD Fempreneur Podcast, where we unleash the power of the ADHD entrepreneurial mind. I'm Kerry Fitzgibbon. Ladies, let's turn your superpower into success. Welcome to episode 11 of the ADHD Fempreneur, and this week we're going to be talking about ADHD and perimenopause. This is one of the number one questions that's asked out there is, do ADHD symptoms get worse with perimenopause? So I wanted to cover that today on today's episode. I also want to cover, do they get worse? Why is it that they actually get worse? What does it actually mean to us ADHD fempreneurs? And then some little tactics and tricks and strategies that you can put into your tool belt to actually help you through this tough time. Because let's face it, perimenopause for some people out there, and for a good percentage of us out there, is really, really hard, and no one prepares us for it. I know, you'll hear people saying, how hard they've had it, but until you're actually going through it, you actually have literally no idea. But the thing is, it's even worse for ADHDers. And let's just jump into exactly why that is. So ADHD and perimenopause. So does it get worse, or do the symptoms get worse when you are going through perimenopause? And the answer out there is yes, they do. Now, the reasons why they do is because our estrogen levels, this is what they say, the estrogen levels drop. Okay, so with the estrogen levels dropping, then it affects other hormones or chemicals in your body, including dopamine and serotonin. These both play a significant role in ADHD. So when we're going through hormonal changes, it really does and can affect, our focus, our mood swings, our irritability, I guess, and so on. So those are all classic ADHD symptoms, and that is certainly a massive impact on that. So hormones, or the adjusting in hormones at any time during your life, does have a significant effect on, on ADHDs. And I'm just going to give you a couple of situations in life where ADHD symptoms can get worse for us ADHDers out there. And one is going through puberty, where hormone levels change. The next is when you give birth. Okay, then the symptoms can get a lot worse then. And then of course there's perimenopause as we're going through that change of life. Now that's actually what's happening at the moment with a lot of women around the world. We're all getting late diagnoses. So women are getting diagnosed late in life. And that's exactly what happened with me. I'm 49 now. I only got diagnosed this year and have had it my entire life, as I've mentioned in other episodes. And the reason why it can get a lot worse is because of the hormone fluctuations and changes. So sometimes it can be really, really difficult to determine whether you actually is it just menopause, going through perimenopause, or is it menopause, or is it ADHD? And I have so many people that actually say to me, oh, the symptoms you've got, that's just menopause. And to be honest, the people that are saying it to me, because I've had, a few friends and whatever else say to me, oh, that's just typical perimenopause. Oh, that can be just wiped off with hormones. And I've had a lot of people, like I said, say that to me. The people that have said that to me, to be honest, I can spot an ADHD from miles away, are people undiagnosed ADHD, as I would say, because there are a lot of people that go through perimenopause or go through menopause and they don't have the symptoms that we have. And how can you tell the difference? Okay, well, here's some key things to look out for. And, if you don't know right now whether you have ADHD, you might be thinking it's perimenopause, and that's, maybe do some research, maybe look into it, maybe go and speak to someone, because the key differences are menopause, right? Lack of focus, same with ADHD. Depression, possibly the same as ADHD. Lack of motivation, 100%. Aggressiveness, maybe, sure. Irritability and stress for menopause, yep. Same with ADHD. But with ADHD, yes, we're also easily distracted. We don't complete tasks, lose items, talk over people, always late, overwhelmed, terrible with time management, and so much more. And they're not necessarily the things that come with menopause or perimenopause, right? The thing is that you can usually tell the difference because you would have experienced most of the symptoms your entire life anyway, and you'll know. But it usually gets worse when we're going through that hormonal change. And the worst thing about it is there has not been enough research about it. So again, I can only talk about my experience and my research as well going through this myself. And so some of the things that, let's tackle what it sort of means. So what it means when we're going through perimenopause and we've got ADHD and let's just say running a business like I am, and no doubt some of you guys are running businesses as well. What it means is tasks that you probably used to do really, really well because you were easy to mask and easy to handle because you weren't dealing with the hormonal changes as well, are now harder to do. And I'm going to give you some prime examples with that. Okay. So as I started going through the change of life, the ADHD symptoms got worse. I found myself not wanting to do phone calls. I've got a business where I need to talk to clients. I didn't want to do phone calls. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to network. I didn't want to socialize. I got really, really easily overwhelmed. Tasks that I used to find easy were no longer easy anymore. Even things that I found fun to do, which has always been my fallback. I built my businesses because I found things fun. I focused on the things that I really liked to do. I felt overwhelmed even doing those things. So even the easiest things became really, really hard. And day to day, I was finding more and more avoidance, burying my head in the sand, and things like, and a prime example I'm going to give you is, let's just say, tax and accounting type of stuff, which I now absolutely 100% outsource. But I found myself literally just avoiding it, just not going to do it, just not going to even think about it, and so on. So that's the sorts of things that actually get worse as we're going through perimenopause and you've got ADHD as well. So what it can mean is a complete actual relatively shut down on those things in business that you used to find really, really easy. The things in life that you used to find easy, you can no longer do anymore. Okay. Some of the things that they talk about, if you are diagnosed already and you are on medication, some of the things that they talk about being able to overcome perhaps the perimenopausal symptoms or the severe ADHD symptoms, should I say, during this time, is perhaps talking to your healthcare provider and having a talk about changing your medication or changing your treatment plan. So what some people do is during that time, they actually maybe need to increase medication if you're on medication or change medication. Because what can happen when we're going through perimenopause and let's just say you're on ADHD medication is the medication can actually stop working, okay? And I want to give you an example, for instance, and this isn't actually talking about perimenopause, but it's talking about hormones. So one of my contractors, she's just recently been diagnosed with ADHD. Now she's in her late 20s, or actually she's in her mid 20s. And so she's just recently been diagnosed with ADHD and she's been able to go on to medication. So she started the medication only a couple of weeks ago and she had the epiphany that many of us have when we first start medication. So she started on 20 milligrams of Vyvanse and she rang me that day and she said, "Oh my goodness, Kerry, this is amazing," which is the exact experience that I had as well. It was just so amazing. She's, "I've focused all day. I can't believe this. It's life-changing." And that's what we all feel when it works. It's like, it's life-changing. Where has this been all my life? And anyway, and so I called her the next day and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's great. And then about 4 days later, which can happen, it stopped working. But it didn't just stop working because it stopped working. It stopped working, she believes. She said, "Oh, Kerry," she says, "listen," she said, I'm getting my period, so hormonal changes. And she says, what I find usually happens is everything gets worse. So in that instance, and it's again going same with perimenopause, that's where you'd need to talk to your healthcare provider and maybe talk about, okay, when I'm going through the fluctuation or if I'm going through perimenopause, I'm finding my symptoms are getting worse. What can you recommend? And many of them out there do actually recommend perhaps changing your dose of if you're on medication. If you're not on medication, let's just say you haven't been diagnosed, but you are going through perimenopause right now, and you might be starting to experience symptoms that are stronger, but you've felt a lot of them your entire life. So for example, the easily distracted, not being able to stick to tasks, running late, over talking over people, and so on, sometimes not being able to cope with too much noise or too much distraction around you and so on. If you've felt that your entire life and you're feeling it a lot more now, there is a possibility that you might actually be ADHD if you can relate to some of this stuff. So therefore, it's going to possibly get worse as you go through perimenopause, and into your menopausal years. So best to perhaps talk to someone about that, to try and get it sorted out and see whether you can actually get on a plan that is going to work for you. So some of the things that I have personally done to try and combat the terrible change of life as everything goes haywire, and also dealing with my ADHD and running my businesses and whatever else is, I do time out more for myself nowadays, and take time out for me without feeling guilty anymore, because I know that time out for me will make me a better person for everyone else. And you might be able to relate to that. Also, think about taking up, I run, so exercise helps a lot as well. But what I find in business is delegation. It is really, really important to find support people in your life, or people that you can get into your life that can support you, because there's things you just won't be able to do. And instead of trying to force yourself to do them when it's just going to drain you and burn you out and make things, much, much worse, is find people to support you, that can help you, that can get you through, that can do the tasks that you can't do, that can carry you when you need carrying as such, to do them for you, because it is super, super important. Don't try and push through. If you try and push through, you'll end up maybe burnt out, and you'll end up feeling a lot worse. So what like I said, I'm not a medical expert on any of this hormonal stuff or perimenopausal stuff. I'm going through it. And I also have ADHD, obviously, and I'm not an expert at that either. It's just the stuff that I've researched. It's the stuff that I'm going through myself here, and I'm hoping that it will help everyone else as you're going through perimenopause and stuff. But it's not just you, okay? Just understand that you're not the only one. You are special, and you're amazing, and you're no doubt really, really quirky, but you're not the only one going through struggle street through perimenopause. And there's other people that may not have ADHD out there that don't understand, and they'll tell you it's okay, just take a hormone pill or whatever else. And that's the other thing that some people are doing out there, from what I've read up in that. So often, as we're going through the change of life, that is what we're doing. So if anything else happens in your life, it's always blamed on hormones. But if you've got ADHD, there is actually a solution, and you could possibly have that, because one of the solutions for hormones, so as you're going through perimenopause, one of the solutions is taking hormone replacement therapy, HRT. Okay, and that's fine if it's only you're going through perimenopause, so it is hormonal, and that can be perfectly fine, and go and do your research on that. I did HRT. I had absolutely zero progesterone, right? And I didn't realize, I haven't had it for years, which can increase certain estrogen levels, and the estrogen levels that can increase aren't necessarily the good ones. I mean, it's good to have estrogen, but there's a couple of different types. Again, not the expert here, but and the higher the estrogen levels, that can cause, breast cancer and all sorts of other things. So studies have said out there. So they put me on HRT to get my progesterone levels up, okay, to level out my moods, to make me feel better and whatnot. And guess what? It just made me feel worse. It made my symptoms worse. It made my lack of focus. I was a lot worse. And this, by the way, was before I was diagnosed with ADHD. So we thought it was hormones, right? So I was put on hormone replacement therapy to solve that. But because it was ADHD, well, it's not necessarily going to help, okay? Again, talk to your medical practitioners, talk to other people, talk to your naturopath, talk to whoever you need to talk to, and do your research on what you need to take. But maybe start thinking about other alternatives too. HRT, not saying good nor bad nor otherwise, it just really putting progesterone and doing the progesterone side of things made it worse. And I don't know why. I might need to dig into that a bit further and get an expert who is a hormone expert on here to talk about why that would have been the case. That was just my experience. So this is the issue with it. This is the issue, I guess, with having ADHD, going through perimenopause, is that often the symptoms can be mistaken just for perimenopause, and you can be overlooked, and you can just be on this roller coaster of meltdown because everything's a lot harder. And that's what I sort of want to just tackle. That's what I wanted to tackle today, is like the differences between perimenopause and ADHD, and the combination and the overlap can be quite significant. But if you've had some of the symptoms your entire life, then maybe it's the ADHD side, and maybe that's something that you need to look at. If you're already on medication, then perhaps it's time to talk to your medical practitioner about whether you need to adjust the dosages during this time, because it might stop working, or at times where you're still actually menstruating during perimenopause. I'm still once every 6 weeks, and then 3 months, and then 5 weeks, and then 4-5 weeks. It's just all over the place, and my moods and everything's up and down and going crazy. It's like, I don't know whether I'm Arthur or Martha half the time with that sort of stuff. So I really need to do some of the I guess really need to do some of the natural things, like the running for me, and looking at the alternative medications and that, to try and level out this absolutely crazy time. And so some of the things that may be able to help during this time, going through perimenopause with ADHD, running a business and so on, is outsourcing. Make sure you get other people to help you do stuff. Exercising. You might want to try meditation. It hasn't worked so far for me, but I actually did it. I did a little stint. In fact, I did a little detox retreat in Bali a few months back, and took a week out, and I tried yoga for a whole week in a row. I've never done yoga. It's not it's too slow for me. And I know there's all different types of fast yoga and whatever else, but this was quite slow, just relaxing time. And by the 5th day, like first day, horrible, second day, terrible, third day, awful, only because I can't touch my toes. And by the 5th day, I was actually really starting to enjoy it. And I'm like, I'm going to go back and do yoga every day. I didn't. But if you... something I'll look back on. But yeah, so outsourcing, exercising, maybe some meditation or yoga, if that's something you like to do. Medication. And another thing that I sometimes do is, if I'm really feeling just anxious or something's going on in my head, and that is, I will put on my favorite songs, usually 80s or 90s playlists, and I will dance around wherever I am, in the lounge or whatever else. I'll dance around for about, a song or two, and just get, free, and get my energy out and get my dopamine levels up, because it's an 80s or 90s song. And that usually resets me and makes me actually back into being able to do the things and the tasks that I need to be able to do. So whatever that is for you, okay, and make sure that you do go and ask for some support out there, because it is a really, really tough time. It is such a tough time for us, ADHD is. It's a tough time for any woman going through perimenopause as a rule. But don't dismiss the fact. Don't listen to people if they say to you, oh, that's just menopause, that's just perimenopause, that's just the symptoms. No, it's not. Not everyone goes through it the same way. And like I said, if you have ADHD on top of that, it is way, way worse. So if you feel like it's getting worse, or you feel like you're getting, feeling like you're getting worse, then it is a thing, and it's possible that, and there's ways around it. So I hope that this episode on ADHD and perimenopause, and how, yes, it is a thing, it does, our symptoms do get worse. I hope this has helped you. And if you do love this information and want to hear more, make sure that you do subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. And if you love, what I'm sharing with you, make sure you give me a 5-star rating. Now, I just want to finish off here with just saying to you that, if you're going through this, you're not alone. This is why this is why I've done this community, this ADHD Fempreneur community, because there has never been enough information about us women and ADHD. And I think we've spent our entire life feeling like there was something wrong with us, right? There's not. We're amazing. We're beautiful. If you are going through the change of life, or if you are going through and you have got ADHD, join the community, ask for support, leave a comment below, let us know that if you understand this, feel this, can relate, and join the ADHD Fempreneur community, and all support each other. And I'll see you on the next episode.